welcome to the video. In this video, we're going to work on the shirts that you've seen at the beginning. So it's basically a cropped shirt. So here on the table, this is cotton. I have 2 yards of cotton fabric. This is going to be more than enough for this project. The first thing, how we're going to go about this is we're going to draft the back first and use the back to cut the front, because the back and the front are identical, almost identical. The only difference is that provision will be made in front for our zipper allowance, all right, for our buttonholes, sorry. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our biggest measurement. So I hope you guys have seen the measurements at the beginning of the video. We're going to take our biggest measurement. We're going to divide that measurement by 4, and then we're going to add 2 inches of allowance to it. So our biggest measurement is our bust at 35 inches divided by 4 is 8.75 plus 2 inches is 10.75. So we're going to measure out 10.75 and fold our fabric according to that. So you see this is a bit much. So now the next thing after folding, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our shirt length. So the shirt length we're working with is 18 inches. It's a crop shirt, like you know already. So we're going to take that 18 inches. We're going to add 2 inches to it for our hemming at the bottom. So we're going to be left with 20. All right. Okay, I was going to mark blue on blue, and it wasn't really going to work. Alright, next thing after we've placed that measurement is we're going to go half an inch above that measurement and rule another line for our allowance at the top. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to place our shoulder measurement. So the shoulder measurement we're working with is 15. 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. I'm going to place 7.5 here, and I'm going to make a mark. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to slope this shoulder by half an inch. So you're going to come from the original line here. You're going to mark 1 inch. Sorry, you're going to mark 1 inch after here. Okay, 1 inch after there. Create a new slope. Then you're going to place half inch above the line. So after that, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to place the armhole. So how we're going to find the armhole is the bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. So if we divide 35 into 6 places plus 1.5, I came to 7.3. I'm going to approximate that number to 7.5. So we're going to come down to 7.5 inches, and we're going to make a mark at 7.5. All right. We're going to rule this line straight down from your shoulder at this point. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to simply just slope your armhole. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to mark. We have our length already because we started from the bottom going up, so we know that this is our full length. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to place our bust measurement and see what we have. So the bust measurement is 35. 35 divided by 4 is 8.75 plus 2 inches of allowance. That is 10.75. So I'm going to place 10.75 over here. You're going to simply place that same measurement all the way down, because we are making this to have a boxy look. So we're going to place that same measurement running all the way to the bottom. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut out. Alright, so after cutting the back, it's time to cut the front. If you notice, I have not placed anything concerning our neckline yet. We're going to do that as we move along. So you're going to increase your fold by 3 inches, okay? So you want to simply move your fabric, so you have an extra 3 inches in front. Alright, so I have 3 inches in front, and once you have that, you are free to cut this out. So after you've done this, you are free to take out the front, and then I want you to fold that 3 inches in. So remember that 3 inches we kept. I want you to fold it down. We're going to iron it so that it stays down. It's at this point that we are now going to turn to creating our our neckline, so our neckline with our neckline depth and all of that. And then I want you to rule a 1/2 inch line on top of here. I know that we didn't do that before because we had the other pattern to help us. So I want you to rule a 1/2 inch line here so that you know exactly where your allowance is. Alright? So after you do that, you're going to bring the back and you are going to fold. You see this 1/2 inch here that we have on the back pattern. You are going to fold the 1/2 inch that we intend to sew down and you are going to iron it. And you are going to place, you see this fold, this 1/2 inch, that's this edge here. You are going to place that edge on top of the 1/2 inch line we ruled, or at the bottom here. So you can see that we're placing the edge right on that line. Okay. And after we have done that, the next thing is to place our neck measurement. So you're going to need to have your neck measurement, that circumference around the stump of the neck, so the thickest part of your neck. For me, that number that the number I'm working with is 14 inches. We're going to divide 14 inches by 2. So 14 inches divided by 2 is 7 inches minus 1 inch. So 6 inches at the end of the day. We're going to use 6 to create a curve. But you want most of the curve to sit in front of here. So I'm going to use 6 inches to create a curve, and as you can see, I'm going to give most of what I have to the front. You want whatever you are placing here to come to sit right after, you see this 1/2 inch fold, right after the 1/2 inch fold. As you can see, that's where we are going to place that. Just 1/2 inch to the back, push the rest of it to the front, make a mark around. So because we are doing this because we don't want to cut too deep into the back. Remember, the back neckline is supposed to sit a bit quite high, so we don't want to eat too much into the back. When you're done with that, you are free to cut this out. And when you're done with that, you open up the front, and then we're going to simply just cut this straight. And after we've cut that straight, you're going to come 1 inch after here. You're going to make a mark at the top. You're going to make a mark at the bottom. That's 1 inch after. Alright? And after you've done that, make a notch over here. The reason why we're coming 1 inch in front is because we're marking where this button hole here is going to end. Remember, the front has a button hole, so this 1 inch, this is where we're going to fold. Is this 1 inch that's going to make your button holes to overlap. That's how your buttons would sit under where the button holes are. If you don't have this allowance, then the front is just going to be touching like this. That 1 inch allows them to do this. Alright, so I'm going to cut the front open. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to iron. Alright, so when it's time to iron, what you're going to do is you're going to fold the fabric to be right on the edge. You see where this 1 inch is, where I made that 1 inch notch. That's where you are going to fold. That's what's going to guide you when you are folding. And then we're going to simply just press it down. After you've pressed it down, you are going to fold the excess inside, and then you are going to have just 1 inch. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of the front as well. Make sure that you have front facing front at the end of the day. So the side I'm folding onto is going to sit on the inside. Alright, so like I said, I'm going to simply just repeat this on this other side, and then I'll meet you on the sewing machine. Okay, so the next step is for us to stitch on top, right on top of here. So you can simply just stitch on top of here and go and iron, but for me I want to stitch it from the front because somehow the stitch that comes that's on top looks better than the one that happens underneath, just a little bit better. So I'm going to stitch on top of here because after ironing I sort of have an outline here where I can see where the bottom is. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch from here all the way down on both sides. So I'm going to head back to my ironing table and iron these flats before I come back. Alright, and then next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to join the front to the back at the shoulders. So part I have on the table is my back. I'm going to bring my front and I'm going to place the front side of my front, so the clean side facing the clean side of my back, clean side front facing front, and I'm going to stitch from here all the way down, consuming half an inch on both sides of the shoulders. So this would be a great time to use your overlocker to finish the rough edges that we have on the shoulders. So now before we proceed, the next thing I want to do is I want to create the little breast pocket. So what I'm going to do is, what I did was this. I cut this piece of fabric. This is 6 inches wide and it's 7 inches long. Alright, so 6 inches for the width everywhere, 7 inches for the length. I'm going to fold this in half. I want it to have a pointy, the end of it to be pointy, so I'm going to cut it short by half an inch. I'm going to start from here, going to leave it full, and I'm going to slowly trim this. By the time I hit half an inch, I've cut a little triangle at the bottom. Next, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go and fold half an inch, and then I'm going to fold 1 inch, and I will be back. I'm now going to stitch at the edge of the 1 inch fold. So you see half and then 1. I'm going to stitch at the edge of the 1 inch fold. I'm going to iron it, then I'll come back because we have to fold all the other sides. So after doing that, I'm going to head over to my ironing table. I'm going to fold ½ inch at every point. So I'm going to fold ½ inch here and iron, ½ inch here and iron. I'm going to do the same thing here, ½ inch, and do here at ½ an inch. Then I will be back. So this pocket will be fixed to the left side of the front. Alright, so what you're going to do, open it up like so. We're going to come 8 inches away from the joining at the shoulder. That's where the pocket is going to start, so 8 inches from there. Alright, you see I'm at the highest point of the shoulder over here, and then when you found that point, from the edge here you're going to come in by 2.5. so you're going to simply take your pockets, slide it into where you have 2.5. Alright, so we're there, and then you're going to simply stitch the pocket around. If you want, you can use pins to hold it around. That should make it easier. I'm going to simply stitch from here, 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 and go back up. Mind you, I have folded ½ an inch everywhere on the inside, like I said I would. Alright, so alright, so with that I have installed a nice little front pocket. I'm going to go and iron this. As you can see, like I said I would, I have used my overlocker to finish the shoulders before the next step. The next step is for me to create a collar, and I've made a video. There's a standalone video on how to make a collar. I'm going to drop that link in the description. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do before I cut the collar is I'm going to use my tape to measure from here around the neck, around the back, into the other side of the front, all the way to this tip. And whatever number I get from taking that measurement, I'm going to use to cut my collar. So link is in the description to how to make a collar. So if you don't know how, see that video and then come back here. Alright, so here we have the collar. I have gone ahead to create the collar. So the next step is to attach it. So I'm going to start from here, the ½ inch that I have left over here. I'm going to place it. I'm going to stitch ½ inch around the neck. So the next thing I would do is I would push all this excess underneath here and bury it inside, and I'll stitch from here all the way down. So now I'm going to make a top stitch from here all the way around to the other side. So after we've done that, the next step is for us to create our plackets. So I've made a video on how to make a placket, but I'm going to show you guys this method in this one. What I have here is my sleeve. All right, so I cut 2 pieces for my sleeve. Next thing I'm going to do is if you don't know how to draft a sleeve like this, a link is in the description to how to draft a sleeve like this, how to cut the front and back and everything. But the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to come to the corner. So this is the back of the sleeve. We're going to come down to the bottom over here. We're going to measure in 2.5 inches, and then at that 2.5 inch, at that 2.5 inch, we are going to cut in 4 inches deep. All right, 4 inches deep, and then we are going to install our bias. Now this bias here is simply the same thing with this fabric. It was cut diagonally and I have folded it so it's 2 inches wide, and originally it's 2 inches wide, so I folded 1/2 inch to the left, 1/2 inch to the right, and then I collapsed the whole thing. So that's how I ended up with this. I'm now going to stitch this from here all the way around to cover up and to stop this cut I just made from getting in deeper. Alright, make sure to do the same thing on the other sleeve when you are done. Alright, now after you have made this loop, you are going to come to the inside. So figure out where is the front and where is the back. Alright, so when you figured out where the back is, you are going to simply pick it up like this, and we're going to make a stitch to cut across this part. So we're going to make a stitch that will sit at an angle like this, and that will make it neat in front. And then with that, we are done with creating the placket for this. I'm going to simply repeat this step on the other side as well, and when I do that, I will come so that we fix this sleeve to the body, and then we can proceed. Alright, so the next step is for us to attach our sleeves. So you're going to look for the front of your sleeve, make it face the front of your fabric, and we're going to attach our armhole to the body all the way around. Alright, so after joining my sleeve, I'm going to head over to my overlocker, and I'm going to use it to finish off the rough edge on both sides of the sleeve of the armhole, and I'll be back. And then after you use your overlocker to finish that part, you're going to stitch from here all the way down. I'm going to consume 1/2 inch all the way, starting from the edge of the cuff here, running all the way down to the end. So after joining the front and the back of the body together, I'm going to use my overlocker to finish the edge from here all the way down to the body on both sides. Alright, after using your overlocker to finish here, though I have not done that yet, I'm going to fold 1 inch 2 times. So 1 inch and 1 inch again, and I'm going to iron from here all the way to the other side of the front. After I do that, I'll be back for the next step, hemming. Alright, now after folding the bottom, I'm now going to hem it. I'm going to stitch from here all the way to the end. Alright, so now we're almost done with the shirt. The last thing I would show you in this video is I want you to come to the edge. So you see this, right where you have this placket, I want you to come 1 inch after there, and I want you to make a fold like this. So you see this, it's a 1 inch gap from the edge to where I have made the pleat. The pleat itself is 1/2 inch thick. Alright, so I'm going to do that on both hands. Alright, so after I made this fold, I went ahead to install my cuff. I've made a video on how to make and install your shirt cuffs. I'm going to drop a link to that video in the description. But once you do that, you're done with your shirts. Alright, so if you watched this far, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.